Hi guys, welcome to the studio. So today I'm going to work on another Manet that now that my studio is kind of up and running. So I told you I think I've done this one already a couple of times, and what I changed this time is just the colors because I've done it in another set of colors, and because I don't have a lot of images, strangely, of those flowers, could hardly find some really high definition images online. So I'm using the same, but I'm just changing the colors using my iPhone. So I made this one a little bit, you can see actually, I think, let me see which one it is. Yes, I think it's this one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this one. But this one is flipped, and as you can tell, the colors are different. This one is more green, more cold. But anyway, so I don't mind painting several times the same thing because, you know, once again, with this exercise, it's mostly a game of colors. So what we really want is to have fun with the colors. So my palette is ready. I have pretty much everything. My brushes, the rag I'm using. And I'm going to start again with the large brush. You know, we already went through that a little bit. I'm changing the inclination of the screen so I have it well. So this one I feel, you know, if you look at the background, I think that's a little bit of a green with some orange. So, you know, some liquid, and I'm going to start playing with it. I might be a bit too green for now, but it doesn't matter. It just, you know, I'm just trying to find an harmony of colors that is nice. So even if it's not exactly the same color than the original, what I want to get is more of a feeling of the flowers. So, you know, I'm going to place roughly the component of the image. So I have a rose here, I have another one here, another one here. Then I have the vase that goes down like this. And I have that beautiful leaf here, pretty big, a couple of little ones, and some action here. Okay, so you see, just in a matter of a few seconds, I just outline the composition. Okay, and now I can paint, you know, the colors on the side. I might have to reload my orange pretty soon. I thought I would have enough, but I'm getting in the direction that is not exactly what I was thinking about, which is okay. I like to be surprised sometimes. So the fact that I add liquid to that mix make it really creamy. The thing, you know, I'm using two colors, the orange and that green, that are high coverage color. What I mean by that is that they really covered easily the surface. It depends. Some pigments are more transparent, some pigments are more opaque. I think those ones are not really transparent. They give some a nice lack of transparency. You know, I have two green. I have this one and this one. Actually, the cyan blue has the same power of covering the surface. So we can use those quality of the colors to our advantage. You know, if I need to cover an undertone or something, I know that if I'm using those colors in the mixing of the color I'm making, I'm going to have something that can cover quite easily the surface. And I kind of like actually the rendering of that. I'm putting some red because I want something darker here. So by using red, I desaturate the green, and I'm bringing that green a bit more into the dark zone, more brownish per se. But you see, I can still feel that green, I mean that red inside the green. And it's why I love it, because it's not like a, you know, the color is still dancing with the other one, I mean the pigment. And you can still see that it's not made with black, but with red. Okay, good. Now I'm going to do the foreground. For the foreground, I'm going to use maybe some violet if I have any left, because my violet is kind of, as you can tell, kind of stiff. Now the violet is maybe not too violet, actually, maybe we have a bit of violet here. Each time try to make a decision, you know, don't let the color decide for you. So, you know, either it's more green, more yellow, whatever. You see I'm putting some violet, it might be too strong, but you know, I will have time to tone it down later. I think the violet mixed, I mean, side by side with the green, it's going to have some nice interaction. And I still have some green in my brush, so you know, I'm kind of using that also to create some harmony with the colors. So we already have something quite pleasant in the harmony of colors. So now I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. So sometimes what I do with my brushes, when they get too old, like this one, for example, you see the brush is kind of a, I can show you a new one close to an old one and you will see the difference. They are the same brush, you know, but one is old and one is young. So you see the old one lost about a fourth of an inch of lens. I can show you closer on that camera. So you see that's the difference between the two brushes. So what I do sometimes when my brush gets too old, they kind of become thicker. So that means that all the hair gets all over the place because the painting gets into the base of the hair. So what I do sometimes, cutting knife, and you sharpen your brush so you can keep your brush a bit longer. Now I'm going to have to start using new brush pretty soon because they kind of my brush start being not really happy with me. My gone strike pretty soon. Okay, I think I'm back. I'm sorry, sometimes it's still a work in progress. So where am I? I was working on the background. I'm gonna go back to the close-up. So I feel, you know, I'm gonna put some of the green now because there's those beautiful green. Some transparency. There's not a lot of variation on that green for now, so you know I'm pretty much putting the same color, just trying to get the paper covered. Some more of a yellowish green here. Have some yellowish green here as well, a little bit here. And now we're moving to something that is more blue. More of a bluish green. You know, I already explained in the other videos, but this painting in particular, it's about exploring colors. So, you know, it's not necessarily about, you know, making something exactly the copy of what you're seeing. I would rather have you experience and have fun with colors. and almost like an abstract painting, you know, almost like you play with colors, you don't really focus on the realism and so on. When we'll move to portraiture, and I'm going to start pretty soon doing some videos of portraiture, the game will be really different for sure. But for now, just enjoy what you're doing. Just put some accent where you see it, some darker color. Feel we have some darker green, almost like blue actually here. There's this leaf here that's been like this. I have those ones here that are more, they're still blue but they're darker. We're more working on trying to find an inspiration for colors. So just trying to see what colors work together. You know, sometimes I see people who try to, you know, ask for, you know, some recipes or something that just is going to give you which color which color works with which color and so on. You know, by thinking this way, pretty much we can almost say that you know, it's an open door for AI. What I mean by that is that if there was a recipe for colors, there could also be a recipe for sound, music, tunes, chords, and so on. So basically, writing a song, you just need the computer, and the computer's going to write the song and so on. And of course it's possible. Of course I know we're facing the problem now with AI, because AI can take over so much of what we do, because AI is applying recipes. And the crazy thing is that, you know, it's almost recipes that can be random. Here we're trying to not find recipes, but just experiencing some colors, harmonies, and see all the colors, how we can apply colors, having fun and just enjoying the process. On this one, I'm making the colors a little bit more saturated, mostly on the flowers, because I feel like on the image here, the flowers are kind of, you know, the reds are kind of dual. So on purpose, I'm making those reds a bit more saturated. If I don't like it, you know, it's easy, I can always fix them. And it's always more easy to get rid of the saturation. So that means to go to gray, so, you know, taking down the color. Like you have this yellow, for example, which is a bit vibrant in right now. It's, you know, it would require just not a long time for me to just use some gray and paint over it, and boom, it's gone. So it's always better, I think, to try to push the colors to their extent, because you have time after to come back in your painting and just calm down those colors, you know, tone them down or making them desaturated. And you know, if there's some words you're not familiar with, like for example desaturation, I'll do a course about that, about colors, and because some people use the word pastel for colors that are actually degraded, so mixed with white. Pastel is a technique, so pastel can be, the colors in pastel can be really saturated. So calling a color pastel, it's not an accurate way to talk about colors. Colors, there's actually a science behind colors. Like you can literally learn colors from a really scientific point of view. I was lucky to be taught by a teacher in France and he was working in the truck industry. And he was actually creating colors for trucks, and he was really accurate on the words he was using to talk about colors. And there's actually some really precise word to describe color from the other and so on. So I will share that with you, because I think it's important to all talk the same language when it comes to art. Otherwise, you know, we can say a lot of things and it doesn't make really a lot of sense. So sometimes it's nice to just have words, accurate words, to either it's a technique, to talk about the technique, or to talk about the color. Now I'm going to start, you know, coming back with the darker color, the one that is the background, and I'm going to start putting it inside the painting, mostly for that beautiful I don't know the name in English. I think in French it's called mimosa. It's those flowers made of dozens of little flowers or that, and they're kind of cool. And you see, with my dry brush, I paint a little bit inside. I think I need to put some more green. You see, on those flowers, and you know, depending on what I paint, you can tell if I'm having fun with colors when you look at the palette. If the palette is really busy, that means I'm really paying attention to the colors to be accurate and so on, so I need to mix them quite a lot. When it comes to something like this, which is more of a free spirit painting, then you can see from my palette that I don't have a lot of mix, because I mix the colors directly on the paper. You know, the subject allows me to do that. Once again, when we're going to start doing portraiture, I don't do that, because if I do that with portraits, I'm ruining everything. But right now, it's more about, let's have fun, let's have a little bit of a good time painting. You know, it's been a pretty difficult past for me to figure out the way to shoot all those videos. So now I'm kind of, I just want to enjoy it, kind of. So you see the painting starts looking a little bit on the good side. I have some colors in the foreground. That's going to install the kind of table or whatever it is, I don't know. If it's a piece of clothes. And so for this one, I want them to be blurry. I don't want them to attract the viewer's attention. So, you know, if I make them too visible, I can just blur them with my fingers. And you know, when I paint on paper, the good thing about, you know, using the paper as well, it's going to teach you also the use of liquid, because instead of using turpentine to dilute my colors, I'm using liquid. The great thing about that is that sometimes when I don't put a lot of thickness on my colors, the result is that the colors are kind of raw on the paper, on the canvas. So the pigments are left alone, pretty much, because the amount of oil with the pigment is kind of really low. If I put a lot of turpentine, it's pretty simple to understand. If you have some pigments are a little piece of dust, and if you have mixed them with oil or with let's say oil, and you add a diluent like turpentine, then you lower the proportion of oil that's going to grab the pigment and keep them sticking to the paper. So it can create, over a long run, it can create something where the pigments are starting falling. So you don't see them falling on the floor right away, of course, but what it's going to create is some sort of a non-thick enough layer of paint. So the liquid actually helps to increase the solidity of your colors. That's what a medium or is for. You have several types of mediums. Long time ago there was only two. There was the Flemish and the Italian, the Venetian medium and the Rubens medium. And I will explain the difference between the both of them and why. There's a reason why the Venetian is matte and the Flemish is brilliant, shiny. It's linked also to the Italian and the Flemish. Or the Dutch. I had big conversation online with someone from the Netherlands who told me that I have to be careful when I use the word Flemish, because Dutch and Flemish are not the same, which I understand. The funny thing is that in the 15th century, I mean, like for example, Van Dyck, from what I read, and you know, I don't want to say too much because I'm not a specialist of citizenship and so on, but it seems that Van Dyck was actually Flemish and not Dutch. And he was actually Flemish, and at the time, that part of the Netherlands belonged to Spain. So actually it seems that Van Dyck was more of a Spanish guy than anything else. And of course after, you know, time change, wars, blah blah blah, country change, like in France for example, we have the Alsace, which is the northeast of France, and it changed between the German and the French many times. So, you know, someone who was born can become French or German in a matter of generation. So you see, I'm just moving around, I'm just playing. I'm seeing something, I'm seeing, for example, I just saw a dark area, so I'm making some dark color, and there's this place here that is a bit darker, this one here, and actually I made it violet and it feels like it's more cold. So the violet is more red, this one is more green. So I just look at colors and try to judge them regard to each other and try to find a balance. So, you know, there's a couple of things we can judge. There's cold or warm, so meaning green or red. There's dark and light, meaning clear or, you know, closer to the black or something. And the saturation. Saturation is all saturated is a color. That means that some colors are, you know, getting closer to the gray, and some colors are getting closer to the edges of the wheel of colors. So that's pretty much the three things that we can define about colors, which is saturation, clarity, and tint. So I'm already, you know, telling you a little bit about colors and how we can all talk about colors using the same words. And so we understand, like for example, a desaturated orange with a 60% clarity. That pretty much says something about color. We can, you know, it means something. Like we can even think about the color, and if we all talk the same language, if I tell you something like this, you already know which color I'm talking about. Well, if we don't have this kind of language, a lot of people, when they talk about colors, they actually reference to existing items, like for example fruits. Orange is a fruit. So that's a way to talk about color, is by using reference. You know, like the sky, the water. But there's a way to go a bit further than that, and just to have a better approach of talking about colors. So I talk about passage a lot. You know, it's really one of my things that really matters to me. The passage for me are the way the color circulates, you know, and the way the eye envision a painting and go from one place to the other, like a traveler. And that's what I'm trying to get as well. So I'm trying to see where, for example, the color of the background gets into the vase, because the vase is transparent. So obviously I have some areas that are more visible, stronger, like for example this line here, I feel that it's pretty a strong one. Then after, when you get there, the thing kind of disappears. I mean, the edge of the vase kind of, you know, we don't really know where it is. It's just the colors are. So that helps the light to get in. You know, like for example, this leaf is kind of melting with the background. So try to get that. That's really important, actually. That's how you're going to get the circulation of the light. Is what's going to give you the feeling of beauty in something like this. It's not necessarily in the accuracy of the painting itself. It's also about how everything circulates and how your eyes enjoy that circulation, almost like a trip. You know, like where are you going with your eyes? On vacation. Oh, I'm going to see Manet because I like it, because my eyes enjoy it. They enjoy the trip. And so, as painter, we try to create trips for the eyes. That's actually a nice way to think about the painting. It's a trip for the eyes. And sometimes you need some violet, sometimes you need some blue. And your eyes are just like, oh my gosh, nice. I haven't seen you for a while. Good to see you. And then everybody's happy. So you see, for example, what I'm doing right now, those little line inside the leaf, you really want them to be settled and not going from one point to the other, you know. That's really important to not draw something with almost like a system. Try to avoid anything that is systematic. You know, even when I'm doing those little dots, there would be a tendency to just take the same color and just tack, and do it over. You see, even I have to be really careful not to do it too much, because as soon as you're systematic, you're going away from the beauty of the things, because nothing is systematic is in Mother Nature. Like, you know, the tough part of, for example, painting trees. Each tree is different than the other one, and so it's really easy when you look at, you know, portrait painter, plein air painter and so on, and they can paint a tree without even looking at it. Then they're not painting that tree, they're painting a tree. And that's the difference with amazing painters. I think they're painting that tree and not a tree. And so try always to keep that in mind. You're painting something unique each time. And your brush should never stay for more than a couple of minutes on the canvas before going back to to the palette to pick up some colors or whatever, but just to change what you're doing to something else. So that means that you're refreshing your brain, you're refreshing the colors and so on, and I think that's really important. And refreshing your brain is actually, refreshing our vision is really important. Like for example, when I do portraits, so the first session usually I work for whatever amount of hours, like 3, 4, 5 hours, just to pretty much place everything, the background, the main colors and so on. And then after that, I can go for like 10 minutes, put the painting away, come back 10 minutes, put the painting away, and so on. The reason I do that is because my eyes get so used to what I'm doing, at some point I don't see anymore what I'm doing. On little flowers like this, no big deal. I mean, for me, doing something like this is really refreshing. I don't see that as something like a work. For me, it's just, right now I'm just enjoying. When I do portraits, sometimes I must say I'm working, because if I don't pay enough attention, I can have a lot of fun. But the problem is that my commissioner wants to recognize himself, and I cannot blame them. I mean, I understand that some portrait painter, some painter during the past had a luxury, like the portrait of Gertrude Stein by Picasso or things like this. They had a lot of freedom. But it's not all of us who will be commissioned to do a portrait and who can say to the commissioner, "It doesn't look like you, but that's okay." No, I wish I could sometimes, because sometimes you do a beautiful painting and it doesn't look like the person. So it's why I have two types of works. I have the commission, but also my more personal work. And when I do my more personal work, sometimes the portraits don't necessarily look like exactly the person I'm painting, because painting is more important than the model. But it's not always the case. And you see, little by little, I was talking to you, and actually, believe it or not, I think it's important to be able to talk or to do something else. So it helps your mind not to think about what you're doing. And sometimes it's a good way to liberate your spirit and just, you're doing something and it comes naturally to you. I don't know if we call it that thing, but I was watching an interview of George Condo, and that's what he said. They asked him, what advice do you give? You see those 3 ones? Look, that's typical. Those 3 ones, they're systematic, so they're boring. I need to make 3 different that, because there's no way they can be the same. And even if the vase is made by some factory and all those patterns are mechanical, the light is going to make them different. Okay. No, I'm almost done actually. As I said, I don't want to overdo those flowers. I want to keep them like a game for me. I want the viewer to really realize that those things are not about sweating. Those things are about life. They're about joy. Oh, that's interesting. When something like this happens, it's an accident, but sometimes accidents create beautiful things. So, I'm just gonna try to salvage that that color, but Okay, I feel I'm almost done. Maybe some touch up here, so a little bit of that green, a little bit here. You see, it's funny because this sleeve is not even attached to the bouquet. There's not even a line here, and it's fine. That's a good thing about painting, even, you know, nothing's gonna fall out of the painting. Okay, so see, I really want you to keep that work really light and cheerful. And you can start several times, you know, if you feel like the one you've done is not what you like and so on. Remember, it's only paper. Just take another piece of paper, and you can even put this one on the side, you know, and work on it tomorrow or any other day. Okay, I'm good with that. Of course, you know, I could work for hours on that thing, but it's not the point. The point is mostly for me to have fun doing something. I'm gonna make some little dots, just story of what I like about, you know, my brush right now is that you might not see it, but there's a little bit of green and pink because of what I've done before with the brush. And by just putting on the edge like this, I have those two colors that are coming out of the brush, and I like them because they create a little bit of it's an effect, which usually I don't like, but sometimes when you have a good effect, it's good. You know, it's like special effect in the movies. You know, watching a movie only with special effects is not interesting, but sometimes special effects are pretty cool. Actually, there's something I just noticed. It's that little thing here, because I thought it was pretty empty there. Yeah. Okay. So, you know the ritual that I really like, so I'm going to clean my hand a little bit. And I'm going to take off the tape. And it's actually a pretty nice painting. Let me just switch off camera. It is. I mean, I'm sorry that the light can be a bit tricky because I don't want to have too many reflection on it, but you know, it's going to be a nice addition to which camera is it? No, it's this one. Yeah, it's going to be a nice addition to my series of Manet's flower. Okay, so have a good day, and we'll do another one pretty soon. Bye.